Thank you for joining us, everyone. You've officially made it to the big announcement here at Brandwise. Just to confirm that you can hear me okay, if you notice the screen here, we have the computer audio and phone call audio options that you'll need to select. So we're here in Denver. Ari's joining us as Todd Litzman. We have two Todd Litzmans up there today. He's joining us from Dallas. If the rest of you can let us know where you're joining from, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for making it here today. Without further ado, I'm going to give you guys a little bit more time to join. I know that we have a few stragglers that are trying to find this link. It's been a little confusing this week. And then I'll pass this over to Todd to kind of kick things off for you guys here in just a minute.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll give it a sec here to get everybody on. This is the last session of our 2020 virtual conference. So it's been kind of a fun week, but I have to be honest, I'm glad it's over. But this is going to be a super exciting session. So we're excited about it. We've got it slated for 4 hours. So I hope everybody cleared their calendar for the rest of the day, give or take 3 hours.
Todd's kidding.
I'm kidding. 2.5 hours. Time we're 12:02. We'll give it 1 more minute and then we'll get rolling. We do have a bunch of Brandwisers on the call as usual. So if you have questions, you can put them in the chat window or the question window. The question window, and those guys will answer questions for you as we're going through this. If there's some really critical ones, then they'll bring them up with Callie, and Callie can interrupt and ask those questions of us. But we'll kind of see how we go. We've got a lot to cover.
It looks like we have a good amount of you joining us. We've got Florida, Texas, Atlanta, Littleton, Colorado.
Littleton.
Thank you guys for being here today. I know you're not too far from Todd.
Yeah, we're in Littleton.
Randy says it's 70 in Vegas. I'm glad you guys get all the nice weather. We're warming up here. All the snow's melting, much to Iris's dismay. But we're all happy about that. The rest of us, anyway.
All right. Should we go ahead and
let's get started.
You rolling?
Yeah.
It is all you. I'll turn over the presenter to you if you haven't already taken it.
I have not. Thank you. All right, get my screen shared. All righty. We're good? Okay. So as I mentioned, welcome to the final chapter of the Brandwise 2020 virtual conference. Hopefully next year we actually get to see some people in person. We're very excited about this next session. We're going to talk about some stuff we haven't talked about before. So put your seatbelt on and get ready. All right, so the speakers, you probably never met us, but it's Ari Lowenstein out of Dallas and myself. We'll be going through a few different things. You'll hear from both of us through the presentation. So the only platform that builds on the strengths of our industry's past and the potential of our collective futures. So this was a quote that was coined between Ari and Janetta at the end of last year when they were sitting around having a couple of cocktails, but it's got a tremendous amount of meaning. So if we kind of look at what that means, we're the only platform that's been around for 23, almost 24 years now, that's a trusted agnostic partner that provides transparency into what we do and the order flow that goes through our platform and all the rest of that type of stuff automatically. And we're multi-vertical, so we work in gift and we work in home and we work in publishing and we work in outdoor and we work in a whole bunch of other places. So we have a breadth of knowledge and a platform that's very scalable across those different platforms. Builds on the strength of our industry's past, historical data. We do over $2 billion a year in data. As you saw from the webinar, or many of you saw from the webinar that Ari did a couple of weeks ago, and what we posted through Gift and Deck was we're able to use that historical data to provide really beneficial information at a high enough level that it's great to show off, but doesn't give competitive advantage. Trust. We wouldn't be around still if we didn't have the trust of our customers. Experience. we bring a lot of experience. I mean, we've been doing this for 23, almost 24 years. A tremendous amount of our staff has been with us almost that long. Our development team, Randy, Bill, Tony, Janetta, myself, a whole bunch of us, as well as the experience of guys like Ari and Ron that have been in the industry their whole careers.
And the strength there, you know, our industry's past, it's all of your experience.
Yes.
Everyone on this call, every retailer, every sales rep, every supplier, that, you know, we build on that, we learn from that, we adapt to that, and a lot of that is going to be what we're talking about today, what the result of that is.
Yeah, and it ties into the potential of our collective futures. It's our collective brain trust. Collaboration that we work with everybody on. So collaborating with all of the different stakeholders that are in our ecosystem and on this call. A robust ecosystem, one that works in a what we call a hybrid fashion, which when I had that interview in January about hybrid, had no idea that hybrid was going to take such a big part of what we do, which is the online, offline, with a rep online, with a rep offline, web-based, all that type of stuff. But having that robust ecosystem. And then the hybrid platform, which took on a whole different meaning come March, April, May. But what we're seeing, and you saw that in some of the numbers earlier in the conference regarding what Dylan was showing, that reps are figuring out how to use their devices and how to use their tools through a virtual interaction with their retailers, which is the hybrid platform. So how is this reflected today?
That's the big question.
Yep.
That's the big question. So we are the only platform that we feel builds on the strength of our industry's past and our collective future. And when we said that a year ago, it was accurate. But how is that reflected today? What does that mean we have to do now? So we have this moment of what's happening. What has changed dramatically? While the pandemic has accelerated this, there's no question already that retailers have been voting with their feet, and they've expressed their desire to look for new product on global marketplaces. Why? Well, there's a few reasons. One, it's one-stop shopping. This is why they go to a major market center, right? They go to an Atlanta or a Vegas or a Dallas because they walk in and they can buy everything that they need. So we know that that's how they want to look at things when they're starting to look for new product. They're also consumers. So they've been educated by Amazon that they like to look at everything in one place. So when they go to look for something new, they want to be able to see all of it in one marketplace. And then, of course, we have obstacles right now to one of the traditional best tools that we have to generate new leads, which is the pandemic, and obstacles that sales reps have. So while retailers prefer to shop this way, currently what we have in the Brandwise ecosystem it doesn't answer that need. There's no question that these marketplaces have had some success. They're opening up lots of new accounts for suppliers. If you ask a supplier, why are you on whatever marketplace, they'll tell you it's because I'm getting lots and lots of new accounts. However, those marketplaces are far from perfect. They're low, they have a lot of one and done sales, which happen because they're not working with salespeople. The order size is small, and the reorder rate is abysmal. If you see the article that we did, we looked at a lot of the stats of what it's like what happens when a sales rep is not involved, salesperson is not involved. It's a lower quality order. It's a lower size, but more importantly, the rate of reorder is terrible. What is it that's missing from how the global marketplaces work? Is salespeople. That's what's missing. That part that all of us have built our careers on, that know how important that is. That's this obvious missing piece in how these marketplaces work. So in order to try to combat that, what are the resources that Brandwise has that's available? Well, we have an extraordinary amount of talent from salespeople, whether they're internal to a supplier or external working for an agency or an independent rep. They know how to sell, they know how to work with customers. We have the structure of Brandwise 2.0, which is built to be able to create discrete marketplaces. We have size, and it matters. We have our ecosystem handles over $2 billion of business a year. We have 4,500 sales reps, 3,700 suppliers, nearly 300,000 retailers that are active. And all of this, a lot of this is working through 180 sales agencies. So we have size. So how do we use that size? That's the question. How do we use that as a resource? And then obviously we have experience. all of you, I'm doing one of the round tables, I'd asked all the rep principals, how long have you been doing this? 31 years, 25 years, 26 years. How long have you, one of the agencies said that their rookie salesperson had 16 years experience. That's the rookie, and they still tease them. So we have experience. But again, how do we funnel all of that into something that can combat this external reality? So in talking with our stakeholders, in talking with all the different aspects of the business, we came to understand a few things that if we were going to take this on, what did we have to have? We had to have, first and foremost, integration with salespeople in order to build those better sales. We had to have the ability within this global marketplace to territory protect, meaning if someone comes in looking for a product, they find the product that is assigned to, is designated for the salespeople which have been working with the supplier, that's their territory, as designated by the supplier.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, meeting the supplier's expectations. This is one of the biggest pieces. The suppliers are getting new accounts every day. They're getting new leads every day from the global marketplace. We have to create something that can do the same. We have to be able to lead. We have to be able to generate new leads, and obviously also have the discoverability for the products. And we have to do this in a sustainable model. We have to do this in a way where the fees that it generates are able to sustain it and replicate that success. And that success includes discoverability, includes new lead generation, and it includes that nimbleness that the technology has proven that it works. The one-stop and the one-stop shopping. So what's the answer, Todd? What's the answer?
I'm going to give you the answer right now, as a matter of fact. We're going to spend the bulk of this conversation talking about the answers. The answers is a global marketplace called bigmap.
Yay, the crowd goes wild.
Yep. So what is bigmap? Bigmap is the Brandwise global marketplace. And we're going to spend the rest of this conversation talking about what that means for each of you. So let's talk about the features of bigmap. Fully featured marketplace to meet buyers where they are. Where are buyers right now? Pretty much online. Single sign-on for retailers through Passport. So you guys know, if you're using our Reach products or you've seen all of our webinars recently, we've gotten almost 60,000 retailers currently on Passports and about 240,000 more to get going. But they have a single sign-on, makes it very simple for them. They can sign into your Reach site, or they can sign into bigmap with their Passport. This is a critical one, automated transparency and delivery of orders by territory. What this means is, and we'll go into more detail about this, that orders based on what the supplier says their region is will automatically go to the territory agency, and from that agency, through their territory information they have in their reward program, to their territory reps to be worked. And we'll go into more detail about that. The product data and content uploaded by suppliers that's already happening by many of the suppliers on this call for the agencies that are using Reach 2.0, as well as the other products, is shared between Play, Reach, and the global marketplace. So there's no additional lift that needs to be done for this.
You can call us bigmap now, Todd. We can say bigmap.
Bigmap, sorry. I've been saying, we've known this for a while. It's hard not to say it. It's bigmap. The orders that are delivered to suppliers is the same method. So orders that come through bigmap that are worked by a territory agency or not go through stream just the way every other order does. Low transaction fees. The key to bigmap for us was making sure that transaction fees were low enough to be inclusive of everybody. So comparing bigmap versus outside global marketplaces, and as we know, there's plenty of them. So scenario one, an order placed on an external B2B platform outside of the Brandwise ecosystem. The order is delivered to the supplier direct, almost 100% of the time. That's the way that these sites work. No salesperson involvement for that retailer that's coming in and placing an order on that B2B platform. Typical order size, somewhere around $300, depends on what sector you're in. But in the gift sector, about $300 an order. Reorder rates less than 30%. Why? Because they haven't been directed at what they're buying, and they don't always like what they buy the first time, which is never good for anybody. Salesperson agency visibility, no. The only visibility that may be there is when the supplier sends after the fact, here's the order that was placed by this retailer, and then somebody can follow up. Nothing during the process. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2, which is bigmap, orders placed on bigmap. The orders delivered to the salesperson based on what the supplier has said their vendor regions are and who their agency is. And then again, once that order is delivered to the agency, the Brandwise system knows which rep to deliver it to, just like it does in Reach. Salesperson involvement, yes. At an HFC level, and you guys know you can control this if you're an agency, but we want the rep involvement because it's going to make a difference. How much of a difference? At the low end, an average order size that may go from $300 to $475 on that first order, but in many cases, it can be a lot higher than that. Significantly higher reorder rate. And we look at this at web orders that were written in our platform over 3 years. The year over year is over 70%. That's just fact. That's going to happen when they write orders in our ecosystem on bigmap versus outside of it. Salesperson agency visibility, yes, automatically, systematically, not waiting or hypothetically. It happens as part of the process, and I'm going to show you more about how that works. So I'm going to show you right now how bigmap works. So we have 3,700 suppliers in our ecosystem, give or take. They're all ultimately, all of you guys, a number of the suppliers right now are using Transit to upload their product data, and you can now get to content management from your passport. So all of that's done through there, through Transit, which is going to populate bigmap. Now, what's interesting there, okay, great, the data's there, now what? Well, now we need the retailers that we have to be getting marketing and all this information about why they should be shopping on bigmap. Via their passport, they're going to get access to bigmap. So now they can shop across all the brands, discoverability, all of the things that are going to be beneficial about this thing. But here's where it gets a little bit different. Depending on the supplier, if you have a territory rep that's defined that works with a retailer that went on to bigmap and bought your product, then that order will be delivered to that territory rep to work it. So it'll go as an HFC at $300. The retailer will call the rep will call the retailer and say, hey, I saw that you bought this, you should be buying that. You may want to buy a few more of these. All of a sudden it's a $450 order. And at that point, the rep presses the confirm button. After they've done their interaction with the retailer, goes into stream. Now, if you're a supplier here and a retailer goes to bigmap and buys from a company that you don't have a territory agency or territory rep in, that order is going to go straight through to stream. So it's going to be seamless in either event, but that order won't be worked with the rep. So you'll see those orders, and then hopefully there'll be some representation based in those areas. And then from stream, it goes to the supplier. So it's the same basic circle that we have in the way that we work today from a global marketplace. So it keeps transparency and visibility for the agencies and the sales reps automatically. And it also provides the suppliers that have areas that aren't covered by an agency a seamless transition from bigmap into stream. So from a retailer perspective, all they know is that when they get into this, and I'll show you a little bit how that works. Oh, this is a line that's covered by an agency. This is a line that's not. This is who my rep is. This is who the supplier
right.
is.
And in the event that they don't have a rep covering the territory, there's plenty of meat still there, meat on the bone still there in terms of cost to have a customer service or an internal salesperson work with them. So you still have an opportunity to get a higher quality sale without basically paying a commission twice.
Yep. Okay. So stakeholder benefits.
Yeah, I'll jump in here for a little bit. So we've got, we wanted to look at how this global marketplace benefits everyone. So we broke this down. We've got supplier benefits first. So there's no cost to participating in it. There's no flat fees. There's nothing except for the transaction fee, which is 3%. There's no subscription fees. And what that 3% is built to do is to allow space for a salesperson when that order comes in, that they can work it and make it into an even bigger sale, better sale. This we consider a real supplier benefit, that you work with your reps, your suppliers depend on you as agencies. They want the orders going to you. We need this to be seamless. We need it to be automatic, and we need it to come right into their play system so they can work with that order as they would with any other.
Yeah, and the key to this, we've talked about the fact that our ecosystem and our leverage, our platform and what we've done, but we've always had this level of transparency in our systems. it's an automatic piece, but it's a huge differentiator. It's the single biggest differentiator.
Before you guys continue, can you clarify a little bit, when you're mentioning agency, you're assuming that they're using Brandwise, right? What if they're using another platform? Can you just kind of differentiate this?
Yeah, so I'll talk briefly to that. It's a great question, whoever asked that. So if you're, right now, the people on this call are Brandwise agencies, but for the suppliers that are represented by agencies outside of Brandwise, we have two methods of discovery for that. One is that when the order is sent to you via stream, an email can be generated that's sent to your third-party agency also. You'll still set vendor regions up for your agencies, even if they're not Brandwise agencies, so that we know, oh, this doesn't go to a Brandwise agency, we need to email that agency. Or we can set them up with certain components of Brandwise web tools where they can get visibility into those orders, depending on what they want to do with it. So we'll still provide a level of visibility to the non-Brandwise agencies. They just won't have the full Monty of being able to work with those orders to drive that value up. But there's a number of tools that will give them automatic transparency to know those orders have been placed for them.
So we want to, obviously, for suppliers, they're going to want to make sure that they have 24/7, 365 access for potential retailers to find them. We want this to be easy for suppliers and retailers to adopt. And since the vast majority of them are going to have a passport, this will be a very easy for them to participate.
And to that extent, the suppliers that are already uploading their data to their agencies or to themselves, that data is already automatically available within the bigmap platform. And then
we want them to have a modern shopping interface, which you'll see some pictures of, some images of what it looks like, but it's really quite beautiful. We wanted, again, for it to be the same order delivery that we're using now, in terms of the same process they use with agency reach sites, the same process they use with Play. All of those are included, including the business rules. And this is an interesting kind of piece, which refers to the slide before. And I already had this happen with, I put together an agency and a supplier just yesterday. Basically, with this greater presence, this is going to facilitate agencies finding more suppliers and suppliers finding more agencies. Because with everybody part of the same ecosystem, a potential supplier can say, well, here's how I'm already doing in your territory. And all of that data would be able to flow over to the agency, so it'd be an easy adoption.
Yep. Okay.
So then we have retailer benefits. Remember the retailers? Right. So they can discover product, which is the way they want to. They want to shop one-stop shopping. They want to be able to shop thousands of brands. They want to be able to look through thousands of brands in order to find new product. This is how they want to search. They're going to have the convenience of their full order history, not just with the orders they've taken on bigmap, but also with the orders that they've taken through agencies, and also through any other way that they use their passport. They're going to have this dashboard, and coming soon, their Play orders are going to be there as well. This dashboard will be a main focus for them.
Yeah, I want to mention the Play orders are there now. So just like they are on your read, any orders that they wrote in the Brandwise ecosystem will show up in their dashboard too.
Okay.
To the extent even that they have orders that were written on bigmap, that are written for agencies that are not on Brandwise, they'll have those orders, of course, in their order history, as well as anything that was written by a Brandwise sales rep on Play.
So this is really important as a retailer benefit, and this is what we covered in the story. Retailers want to buy; they want to buy good product. They'll say, "Well, I just want to shop." What we know from the statistics is that their reorder rate, which means they didn't sell the product, right? If a retailer didn't reorder the product, it means they didn't sell it because they didn't have a salesperson working with them to make better decisions. So why is this beneficial to the retailer? Because for the retailer, they're ordering through a global marketplace. They then get the benefit of a professional salesperson who knows that line and knows that store to help them make better decisions. This is a retailer benefit. These global marketplaces with 7,000 lines, there's nobody that's guiding them. There's nobody for them to call. They don't know the 7,000 lines, but by us using the entire ecosystem and driving that new customer towards that salesperson who knows that town, who knows that store, and who knows that line, we're automatically getting them the best possible service. So agency benefits, and there are a lot of them. First of all, the salespeople can be part of the process to foster these better orders. It's why suppliers sign up with you. They sign up with you because they want that prowess, they want that ability, and it's that transparency with the orders arriving directly from bigmap. This is going to be how the new accounts are generated. This is going to be part of your everyday business.
Yeah, and again, to just reiterate again, because it was a great question, for agencies around Brandwise, they get this as a workable order in an HFC status. If it's a agency outside of Brandwise, they get an email confirmation of a confirmed order, but they still get transparency.
The agencies need to be able to provide new lead generation. This is what they're counting on. And that new lead generation is happening, as we said, outside of our traditional paths. So we're counting on this to be able to provide that for the agencies. And it's going to strengthen that relationship between the rep and the agency, and between the supplier and the rep and the agency. All of that is going to get stronger. The reps are going to understand that the agencies are part of an ecosystem that protects them and that helps them get them a new account. When they get their first new account that comes through bigmap, and it's a store that they haven't worked with before, and that opportunity lands to them, they're going to say, this is the best thing ever. And all my lines are protected for my territory as well. It's quite elegant. And this one I think is probably the most important. And this, when I started looking at these, when I got to Brandwise, because I was looking at these disruptors that were coming into the industry, and I wanted to understand what that was. And what I understood was the agencies, it didn't go anywhere saying to the suppliers, don't go on these other marketplaces, because the suppliers said, well, I'm getting new accounts, and right now in the middle of a pandemic, how can I not? This gives the agencies a compelling alternative to these other marketplaces. It's at a lower price. It involves a salesperson. All of the parts that are good are going to be there, basically, without the parts that are bad. And so that's one of the big benefits that we see for the agencies.
And the thing is, it's a benefit to the agencies. It's also a benefit to the supplier, because it's a lower fee and it's going to be worked by your sales reps, which is going to create a larger order. And it's going to keep the retailer in touch with their salesperson. So all around, it benefits everybody. Yeah. All right. So let's have a look at what it looks like. And you're going to see some consistencies if you looked at some of our Reach stuff, but it's beautiful on any device. So for those of you that know Reach now, the current Reach, it was built many years ago, and it wasn't what's called responsive. So it worked on a desktop, or it worked on certain things like that. But when you tried to squeeze it down, it wasn't what's called responsive. Now, whether you're on a big screen, you're on a laptop, you're on an iPad, or you're on a mobile phone, it looks beautiful on all those devices, and it's usable very nicely on them all. Again, when you land on it, we talk about discoverability. So all the brands are going to be listed. There'll be categories, there'll be groupings of of suppliers into different ways, but the search is going to be critical. So if I look at this and I say, to the point that Ari is making, that retailers want to go and shop across all brands, if they go in and they're searching for mug, and they put mug in, as you can see right here, they're going to get multiple brands that are going to come up. So in this case, I've got New York Puzzle and Unemployed Philosophers, but I could have 50 different brands that sell mugs. It's discoverability across brands. So they don't have to come to the site going, I want to buy from this company. They come to the site saying, I want to buy this product. However, if they know the company they want to buy from, and they know the brand, they can go straight to the brand. And they can go into that, and they can do the same searching or whatever they want to do within a specific brand as well. So they have the choice of both, as well as categorization. But then when they get to their cart, it's easy for them. It's single. So for those of you, the agencies that know this already in Play and on Reach, they can check out of all of their brands at the same time. And the brands that are on this call, suppliers on the call, you guys are determining what your minimum and reorder rates are, numbers are. You're determining what your payment methods are and your shipping methods and all those types of things. And more of that will become part of your passport, so that you can control it. Instead of having to ask all the agencies, set this up, set that up, it'll be set up by you guys. So they can go through and check out all of their carts at the same time. Then they have full order history, and this is what Ari was speaking about. But now they have really nice interactive history, where they can go in and they can search back all of their orders, anything written in the Brandwise ecosystem, on bigmap, on a Reach site, on a Play system, will show up in their order history. By brand, by date, by ship date, by PO, they can search, drill down into it, They can drag things up into the top. So if they want to see everything that they did from broken down by brand, so they get some high level reporting, they can do all of that in here. Then they can get into the detail of that.
Todd, just if you can just
Yes.
stay back in the order history for a moment. This
Sure.
kind of illustrates one of the when I was talking about the importance of the size of the Brandwise ecosystem. We are already seeing retailers getting fatigued by the fact that they don't know where they ordered something. They know the brand, but they can't remember where they ordered it. Did I order that on Widget or Ding Dong or Splat, whatever that marketplace was called? I don't remember where I ordered it. The reality is that the Brandwise ecosystem is so large and includes so many retailers and includes so many suppliers. This dashboard within the Passport, with this dashboard for the retailers, is going to become their single largest source of truth in terms of where their orders are. We believe that this critical mass is going to also create a virtuous loop with bigmap. They're going to look for more new products there. They're going to get the new product. Then they're going to start working with the agency and the rep directly, who might do the order through Play. They're not going to do it necessarily online. They're going to work with the rep when they come in the door, but the order is going to show up here. So they're going to be able to see what that is, and they're going to be able to work with the rep, continuously. All of this creates this virtuous loop.
Yep. And what you can see here in PO numbers, the 1,000 orders were written on an iPad. The 4,000 orders are written on a website. So it's all going to show up in here for them to be able to see what's going on. When they click on an order, we'll just take bigmap, and it's an order that came through bigmap. They're going to get this order. The retailer is going to place the order. And what they're going to see here under sales rep, and this is a critical piece, if I'm represented by an agency, it will show the agency name, all the information about who the agency is. And as that order gets worked through time, the sales rep ultimately can get stamped on it, because we know that, okay, this order goes to this agency. Now we know that it's being worked by this rep. Once we know that, we can come back around and stamp it in their order history. So they know, oh, okay, I see my Lisa Simpson is my rep at this particular agency. Here's her phone number. Here's her email address. It's unique to what we do, but it's huge for the retailer now. Even if they didn't know right away what went on, they know that ultimately this HFC order went to an agency, and then further than that, here's the rep that it went to, so that communication can begin. And then all of the information about that particular order. And believe it or not, that's it for this for the spiel of this. But we figured there might be one or two questions, so we wanted to kind of get through this and then be able to answer any questions that you guys have. So at this point, Callie, I don't know if anybody has any questions. I would presume that they would.
We do have a series of questions that we've been saving. So one of the top ones that has come through is that one of the benefits that many agencies have heard in terms of why suppliers and retailers are using something like FAIR is because of the terms. So can you speak a little bit to that aspect of it?
Sure. So there's basically a difference in model. What FAIR is doing by collecting 25% or 15% is they're taking a much bigger piece of the pie. As such, they are carrying the paper for the orders. They're offering free freight. They're offering all these different terms. That's not our model, because what they're saying is you don't need a salesperson. They're just saying it. They're saying you don't need a salesperson. Instead, you need us, and we're going to provide these. If you want to compete apples and apples, that's a business by business decision. If you want to offer free freight, if you want to offer net 60, we're not taking the model where we're going to be taking 15 or 25%. So that's not Brandwise's position in terms of competing in that way. That's going to be on a supplier by supplier basis. With that being said, what we know is that the results in terms of the quality of an order are dramatically higher when a salesperson is involved. So that's our model. We don't, Brandwise collecting a 3% fee, giving it, and with all the different pieces that are going to come out of that, that's not the model that we've chosen. What we're also finding is that when it has been offered, it actually can be more problematic than in a lot of cases. Maybe not the free freight, but the terms. So it's just not the model that we're
well, and the other part of it is at the low rate, it leaves room for a lot more stuff. So if you're paying 15% to a website and you still want to keep your rep involved,
25% for a new account, 25%
for the first time orders. But short of that, as bigmap starts to gain traction, then there's the opportunity where we'll be approached by partners that are fulfillment companies or credit companies that may be able to add on more of these things down the road, which will be added fees to it because it's more service, but still outside of what the Brandwise core is. We want to do what we do well. And if there's other people that come in down the road, or there's a lot of suppliers that say, hey, we want to bring this company in that might be able to do this on the side, we'll be open to all of it.
And one other piece I think is very important. They don't do that net 60 for free. If you don't know, at 60 days, or the policy might have changed, there might be a little bit of a grace period, but they identify themselves as a finance company. They start charging 18.9 or 22.9% on that debt when it's not paid. So that's really not the direction that we feel it fosters a positive relationship between a supplier and a retailer. So we think that there are a lot of other ways that suppliers can do that, to Todd's point, and others. But that business model itself is also probably not sustainable. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Could you provide a little bit more clarity in terms of how the 3% fee is being addressed by agencies and suppliers? Are the two parties supposed to negotiate independently?
We're not. What we've done is we've rested on a number which we came out with first, by the way. That was the minimum that we could do to make this sustainable, and provide all of the benefits, the development, the customer service. I mean, just one piece of it. 300,000 retailers are now going to be calling for certain aspects of customer service. They're going to be reaching out to bigmap. So there are expenses involved. In terms of that 3%, that's going to be on a supplier to agency. I know there are some suppliers who I've spoken with about this when we were testing it, who said, we consider that as, if that 3% is what it takes us to get a new customer, then we'll cover that. But again, that's one of those decisions that each sales manager and each supplier is going to make, and that's also going to be a conversation with each agency, as it is now. If you look, the parallel can be like with direct orders, with added territory orders, with how long has it been since there's been a reorder, we got a direct. These are the same conversations that happen every day.
But to be clear, Callie, for that part of the question, the 3% is billed to the supplier, not to the agency.
Yes, that's billed to the supplier.
Thank you. This question is from Heaven, and there's a series of questions, so I'm just going to give them to you one by one. Is the structure different for agency reach sites versus bigmap?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Is the structure different for agency reach sites versus bigmap?
Are you talking about the technical structure?
Just in terms of how it's actually going to work, because we're getting a series of questions from a few people that it seems like it'll be a little redundant to have a reach site and participate in bigmap.
Okay, so let's start. That's a great question. So on your reach site, Heaven, on your reach site, you're directing your retailers there, and they're coming into your agency site that you have as part of your Brandwise system. So it's an extension of your play. You're defining your territories. You're determining which reps are associated with which customers and who you're marketing to. And you have a subset of that 290,000 retailers buying from your website. So that's great. That all comes to you. That's anybody that buys on your reach site, regardless of the status of bigmap, doesn't play into the transaction fees. It's your order, goes through your current mechanism. Where bigmap comes into play is that it brings that brand awareness to the brands that you have and all of the others, to the entire ecosystem of retailers. But it gives you a playing field where those retailers now are going to Fair, or they're going somewhere else outside of the ecosystem. So you're not having an opportunity of that retailer going into a site that that retailer may order one of your brands, and you're still getting the order transparently, and if not all of the bulk of your commission. So if we don't stand up bigmap, they come to your site when they know about you, they go outside of our ecosystem when they don't. You don't have transparency, you don't get paid on that order, you may never even know about it. So while there's a bit of redundancy in that, as an agency, you still want to work to get your retailers to come to your site. But to what we mentioned real early on in the presentation was, however, if you don't have the product they're looking for, keep them in the ecosystem and suggest they go to bigmap, because you may be passing on a lead, but you're going to get one as well.
There's another piece here, Heaven, which I think is important, is that the familiarity of the passport, the familiarity of working on a site that has a similar structure, is that if a new customer, so a customer finds one of your lines through bigmap, the order comes to you through Play, one of your reps works it. Then that rep says, come to our site. I've got a lot of other things that I want to work with you on. They call them, they work with them, through Play as they normally do. But what you've done now is you've now gotten that customer. And if we think about it in the sense of a building like the LA Mart, you've now brought them into your showroom, right? They walked into the building. because they bought one of your lines, you said, come and visit us. They come in and now they're in your showroom, they're in your reach site. So it's not going to be redundant. And also, obviously, the fees that are associated with your own reach site are much lower. So there's going to be the benefit in that. Now you want to keep that customer there as much as you can. But so that's why it's another reason why it's not redundant. One of them feeds the other.
Yep.
Okay, for question part 2, I think you guys have answered that pretty clearly. What happens to orders that are out of territory for our agency, but are shopped directly through an agency link, in parentheses, not bigmap? Will those orders come to us, the agency, and will there be a 3% fee associated with those?
Okay, so yeah, that's another good question. And so just to be clear, only orders that are generated that start on bigmap are subject to the 3% fee.
That's it.
So what the question is, Evan, and this has been asked relatively frequently, when we provide the technology, the reach technology to an agency or to a supplier for that matter, but we'll talk about the agency defines their territories, not Brandwise, and not the supplier. The supplier says to an agency, here's where you're covered. But a lot of agencies, in order to do a catch-all, will take orders that come in from other territories on their reach site in particular. Or for that matter, if somebody walks into your showroom, and in many cases that's okay, where somebody from New York flies into California in the old days and places an order in your showroom, you figure out with your supplier whether or not they're going to pay you on that, or you're going to split that or whatever. So orders that are taken on other agency reach sites that are for your a customer that should be in your territory are not routed by Brandwise from agency A to agency B. That's up to the supplier and or the agency. Sorry, but on the honor system to say, oh, I see that this order came in. It should have been for Heaven. It should have been for her agency. That comes to the supplier, and the supplier says to the agency that actually took it, hey, thanks for taking the order, but we're going to pay the commission to the agency of record.
And we're not, so we're on bigmap itself, the territories are defined by the suppliers. For the rest of it, we're for actually a myriad of reasons. We don't tell buyers, to Todd's point, what shows to fly to. We don't tell them what agencies to buy from. That's really up to the sales manager or the supplier to do that triage, as it comes in.
Thank you. This question is from Bradley Peterson. Again, just wanting a little bit more clarity around this 3% transaction fee. Is on bigmap, for any orders that are submitted by participating sales agencies, will they all be subject to the 3% transaction fee?
No.
This is all inclusive of orders. And what about orders from existing customers?
Yeah,
Okay,
so the customer, the existing customer piece doesn't really play into it. But once again, if a retailer, existing retailer or not, goes to bigmap and instigates a sale on bigmap, those orders are subject to the 3%.
And that's
anything that's written on an agency system that starts in the agency system, either on their reach site or on their iPads or on their PCs or at a market, is not subject to the 3%. Only orders that originate on bigmap.
And again, the way we want to be looking at bigmap is if everyone's actively engaging with their customers, using all the tools, they're going to be reordering their product by working directly with that person. Now, there may be existing customers that reorder product through bigmap. We know that's going to happen. We're not going to block that. But the idea of bigmap is for bigmap to be the global marketplace alternative to FAIR. Right? With FAIR, it's just in looking at the give and take, everything about this can't be perfect, but it's a lot better. And the difference is if a Brandwise agency can say to a supplier, there's a viable alternative to FAIR that gets your salespeople involved, that's the big prize.
Thank you. Another number one question that I'm sure everybody is wondering, when is bigmap launching? And Todd, feel free to refer to Lisa on this so you don't say coming soon.
I think I will answer in a way that Lisa, who's our product owner, if you guys watched yesterday, will not yell at me. We are scheduled, right now our goal is to be able to get bigmap launched in January of 2021. So we want to be able to get it under our belt and get it up and going for 2021. So that's what the goal right now is. There will be features and functionality that will continue to develop along the way, but that's what the goal of it is. And I see that that Lisa has unmuted so that she can yell at me. But Lisa, go ahead and.
No, I was just going to say, good answer, Todd. You did
Okay,
good.
cool. Yeah, yeah, that's what the goal is, that we start. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say so that we can understand a little bit about how the sausage is made. The visually for the retailer, Reach 2.0 is the starting point, as you've seen, for that. So that doesn't have to be built. The part that is being built, the part that has to that is still in development, or that's being refined because the structure of it is there, is this part that delivers the orders directly to into the play system. That piece plus a few others is what we're working on right now.
Well, but a couple of things that are important to mention there. Brandwise has always had the infrastructure to deliver an order from a website to a rep. So we have, all we're doing now is saying, okay, it came through the 2.0 front end. We need to get it into the existing order flow so that it goes through. So it's not that the benefit that we have is we already know how to do all of that engine. We just have to get the fuel into it. The other thing that's important to understand is we, as of, I think yesterday, Dylan said, or 2 days ago, we have close to 900 suppliers that have been providing their products and their images for transit, which means that if we were to turn on the global marketplace, bigmap marketplace tomorrow, we would already have product images from over 800 suppliers on that marketplace instantaneously.
Yeah,
that's a huge starting point. By the time we get into 2021, January 2021, with the efforts going on with our agencies right now, some of the stuff going on with some of the other associations, we'll be at least 1,000, if not well above 1,000, more than a third of our suppliers already. But what we're hoping will come out of this, we'll start campaigns to get all of our suppliers, which we're doing now, to get connected. It's all services that don't cost anything. Start uploading product through transit so that when we do want to get it going, or you guys want to see what it's going to look like on there, we have the site stood up, even though it may be behind the scenes. We can start to see what it looks like and work with everybody on getting stuff on there.
So if I'm not mistaken, Todd, we could, I mean, bigmap could be, and you correct me if I'm wrong, if we weren't, if it wasn't being built in this way to be fully integrated with the agencies, it could be stood up tomorrow.
Yeah.
So for the questions out there, I'm not saying, it's just so that you understand what the pieces are. This is a Reach 2.0 site. It's that piece behind that allows the supplier to, or whatever, however there's a mechanism to identify their territories, to make sure that the orders go in. All of that piece, that's what we're doing. And as soon as that's ready, the site's going to be up.
Yeah, we want to make sure that's in there so that it starts out of the gates transparent.
Yeah.
Understood. You guys are answering these very effectively, but we do have a series to get through, so I'm going to keep us moving. Can you describe the benefits to suppliers that are seeing big increases in their direct order site already?
Well, if you're getting direct orders right now through your B2B site, is what I guess imagine, mazel tov. Congratulations, that's great. This isn't, when we introduce something, certainly in that, we're not saying don't do that, do this. The benefit here, the first piece is the benefit here is we hope to get you even more accounts and to get them in the hands of your salespeople. Reach 2.0 is also available as a supplier site, meaning that this also could be applied. And we have probably 100 suppliers that use Reach 1.0, and now we're going to start using Reach 2.0, which would have the same ability to deliver those orders to your salespeople. So the benefit that, as we see it, the way we're doing this is we want to use your resources to their best, to their highest and best use. Your resources include your salespeople. If your salespeople aren't sitting in your office and getting those orders that are coming in through your B2B site, we want to provide a way to channel those. So if you're interested in what a Reach site can do for you as a supplier, reach out to Ron or our sales at brandwise.com and they can show you. But that same infrastructure can be applied there. So if you're getting new accounts, I just suggest to you, for me, that you pass them certainly on to your salespeople so they can work them and make them into better orders, whether they be internal or external. But it's not an either or. We're hoping it's just an and. We're hoping it's an or to the global marketplaces that don't involve the salespeople and are taking such a high commission.
Okay. Will it have the ability to translate into Canadian currency if the retailer identifies their location as Canada?
Yeah, so we already deal with that type of stuff. So in the 2.0 stuff, we deal with that through what we call price lists. That's one of the functionality that's being built in right now into 2.0. We handle it in our existing system. So a retailer is assigned to a particular price list based on where they are, what the assignment is from a supplier, and that correlates into what their currency is. So they would have the whatever the Canadian currency mark is, and then whatever that exchange is what's applied in that price list.
And that's all on the roadmap.
Yeah, and that's controlled by the supplier like it is today.
Yeah.
Thank you. Another vendor question. Is there a place for buyers to enter notes for each item? Our product is name drop and needs a note. There has not been an option in the current Brandwise agency web orders.
So on the 1.0 side, line item notes already, I believe line item notes already exist. I can't recall if that's the case. We've had a number
Not in Reach, Todd.
What's that?
Not in Reach, Todd.
Okay. So we have it in play. We don't have it in Reach. So there's two ways we're looking to handle that. One is line item notes, where they can do that. So that's already been requested by a number of companies. So I won't say it's on the roadmap necessarily, but it's definitely in the list of priorities and different things
Yeah,
that we
it's
have.
in the backlog. Yeah, so it is. Okay.
So we have a listing of that. The other thing that we're looking at adding in is starting to add our options functionality, particularly for apparel options, which are grid options, which can also help with some of that, where you can say, it's this and it comes with that and it's in this size and so on and so forth. But we handle all the line item notes in our current infrastructure in play. So it's just a matter of lifting that and putting it into to Reach.
So Todd, just so that I understand, if there's a SKU that needs that name drop piece, now we want that interaction with the salesperson to begin with. If they put that order in through bigmap and that order flows into play to the salesperson, they then have the functionality.
Right.
So that's the answer. The answer is make sure that it's getting to your rep, because once your rep gets it in their play system, then you can use that functionality that exists within play.
That's part of the answer. That's a way to get around it right now for sure. But ultimately, we want the retailer to be able to put that in themselves, and it'll still flow down to the rep.
Yeah.
So we have it in the infrastructure. We just need to build it into the Reach.
But what I like about it is it actually is another reason to instigate a contact between a salesperson and that customer, which always results in something good. So even if that is part of this right now, then I think that's highly effective. And that actually solves that in a lot of different ways.
Yep.
We have a few different questions regarding who's the one responsible for assigning the territory. So in this case, if we rely on the vendor to assign the agency, what happens in cases where different agencies in the same territory are selling to different markets? For example, toy versus gift.
So the way that Brandwise works right now is items are divisionalized. So that level of divisionalization, which says that the way an agency sets it up is they have a vendor region, and then if they have a vendor that has different types of lines or different things like that, or different reps that call on the same retailers to sell different things, it's done through divisions, which ultimately result in territories. So if we've got a supplier that says, and it just depends also on how the supplier sets themselves up. If all of the product are under one, then we'll need to take advantage of a division split that says, okay, based on selling these products, it would go to a different place. But ideally, what we'd want to do is sort of define the brand to say, I've got my toy products and I've got my floral products, very different stuff. So my floral products are represented by this particular agency in this particular area, and my toy products are represented by this agency in that area. When you start getting down to product by product, it gets a bit more complicated, but as long as we can break them up by that logical delineation, it's easier to control.
Thank you. How are customer discounts reflected in your 3% fee, since you don't know our customer discount structure?
Yeah, so the way that, whatever the price of that is going to be, so price list can be defined for bigmap. Discounts associated with prices can be defined. So like if you have price breaks, so at 10 it's $10 and at 20 it's $8. That's all reflected in the price that's going to be represented on bigmap. So all of that's accounted for. So we know that here's what the order is going to be when it gets submitted based on anything. So it could just be list price if that's all we have. That's what the 3% is calculated on. If there's a discount, that's what it's calculated on. But you also have to understand to the other side of that, if that order gets to the supplier and the supplier looks at it and they increase that order by talking to the retailer, or they add different things, or they discount, or they do, or however they're manipulating it, it's outside, it's beyond the control. So once we pass it through stream and it's with the supplier, they're dealing with it. But any of the information we get, which we'll want to get from you guys regarding discounts or multi-level discounts or price lists that people that your retailers are associated with, like ABC pricing, all of that can be applied so that we're getting it, getting you through and getting that retailer in their hands what their price is most important, but also billing you guys only for what the effective price would be if we have that data.
And what I want to reiterate, which I know we've said a few times, but I also want to, in terms of big picture, there are, and I understood now since I've come to work at Brandwise, there are millions of exceptions. Brandwise is built on exceptions. Every company has different business rules. And so many of them are built into Brandwise, into Play, they're built into Reach, they're built into Vision and Reward, and I learned all the words, and I learned all the programs. But I think that the key to look at here is less on an order by order basis. Bigmap is there primarily as a viable alternative to companies like Fair, who believe the sales function isn't necessary. When it comes down to it, we're going to keep iterating the system, and we'll keep getting it better, and we'll keep refining it. We'll keep adding in more pieces, more exceptions. We know that some of these are vital to different people. It's the way the whole business is run. We understand that. But right now we're standing this up because we need a global marketplace that is feeding orders to salespeople who can make better orders, who can reverse this trend of high attrition, low order size. And as a former sales manager, I can tell you, I would have rather made no order than a bad order. When I'd see a bad order come through that I knew was for the wrong product and I saw it shipping out, I'd say, what are we doing here? So the big picture here is this is a marketplace that's going to involve the salesperson. The rest of the details are important, and we're going to address as many of them as we can as we go. But keeping the big picture in mind is important. And let's not forget, those systems, those realities like Fair, I mean, they've had huge problems. They've had much bigger ones because they didn't work with anyone from the gift industry to find out how we actually work. But suppliers have had to jump through much bigger hoops than what we're talking about here. So we'll continue to iterate, but the big picture on Bigmap, I think, is what I want to keep looking at.
Thanks, Ari. We want to keep everything moving for you guys. I know we're 2 minutes away from the hour and we still have a series of questions. So if you guys want to hang on with us, we are going to try to get through the majority of them for you.
Yeah, we'll stay on answer as long as we have people listening.
Yep. So just want to make sure you guys know we are going to try to answer everything for you. So for this one, apologies in advance for any reps that do this already. But unfortunately, there are some reps that don't always follow up with leads. Is there a plan to remind them if they've not processed the order? Yeah,
so it's a little different than just a lead coming in. The rep actually sees in their dashboards, in their order history, in their Vision 360 right now, which they all have. All reps on Play have this ability to go and see their web orders. So those web orders, they've got a tab on the bottom of their home screen on their iPad that they tap on, and it takes them to these web orders. So we try to make it super apparent. One of the other things that was requested by somebody, I think, on the after a call yesterday, was even to the extent of when that order comes from Bigmap into the agency system, it's going to go through to that sales rep. There's also some capabilities that we can take advantage of or try to take advantage of that may email them, even though we want to try to stay away from bombarding people with email, but trying to give them visibility in their email. But certainly when they go into their applications, whether they just go into their order history right away and look for it, or they go into their Vision 360 and just click on orders from the web, that's going to give them visibility.
If they don't do anything?
We usually set a timer. So in current reach, if an order goes to a rep that's supposed to handle that HFC order and they don't handle it for a period of time, then we end up confirming the order and sending it through. As an agency, by the way, for a supplier, if you're on Brandwise, you have some control, but the agencies can control by rep who handles HFC versus ones that come through fully confirmed. So if they have a rep that never seems to work these things, we also don't want to hold it up. Yeah. So on those particular reps, it can go all the way through to the supplier. It'll still go to the agency, but it'll go straight through as a confirmed order to the supplier.
Yeah, we have some feedback that came back too to say that the home office also sees rep orders sitting there and make sure that they're taken care of. Right. And that a lot of times reps are not going to want to ignore HFC orders because that's money for them. So a few things to kind of consider for anyone else on this call. We have a retailer specific question in terms of if there's any system or connectivity issues, are they supposed to be reaching out to Brandwise or the agency if it's like specifically related to an issue on bigmap?
So for bigmap, they won't know. The agency is Brandwise. But that's the bigmap, right? That's us. So if they have questions, and we do this right now in Passport, as you guys have seen, if you've used that, we direct the retailers actually to Brandwise through our Brandwise Support Center to answer their questions. And we look at it in a few different buckets. Technically, if they're struggling, and Callie can speak to this because she does a lot of this, if they're struggling with how to get logged in or how to set their passport up, or those technical pieces, Brandwise takes care of that, either in support or through Callie's efforts and things like that to make sure they're taken care of. If it comes down to, I can't find a product or the price is wrong or these types of things, we'll direct those on to in the bigmap case, we'll typically direct them onto the brand that uploaded that product information. Say you're getting an inquiry from this retailer, we'll push that through our support system so we can monitor the tickets. But we won't answer questions outside of our purview, and we're not looking for anybody else to answer technical questions. We'll deal with those.
Thank you. How is Passport used when, as a supplier, we have agencies that are both in the US and Canada with different prices on product data?
So Passport doesn't necessarily affect the product data. Passport is basically the portal that retailer has to connect to a US site or a Canadian site or a
probably not transit is probably the question.
Now transit, well, so I'll explain that. I'll come back to that real quick. I'll try to get through as fast, Callie. So depending on which site they go to, when they get to that site and they get approved for that site, that will determine the pricing they get, whether it's in Canada or it's in the US. As far as transit goes, which is a portion of bigmap, the price list functionality that's on the roadmap to get put in, I won't give a date because Lisa will jump in and yell at me, but we've got that on our roadmap to get put in, will allow the supplier to upload their different price lists through transit. And that ability will allow the assignment of a retailer to be assigned to a particular price list. So that's how that would work. Right now, that's done on the legacy stuff through the agency systems and through some loads that way, but we're building some of that into transit as we continue to build more things into transit, if that was a question.
Yep. We have a few questions regarding just how we're going to market this to not only, I guess to start, can you mention, this isn't something that all suppliers within the Brandwise ecosystem are just automatically going to be enrolled into and participating in. So how do we expect, for one, are we going to be asking for agency participation in terms of driving more suppliers to want to participate in this platform and so forth?
So first, no one's automatically signed up for anything. We put New York Puzzle Company, Unemployed Philosophers Guild on there as some product choices, but they're not on it because it's not there yet. But they'll sign an agreement. They'll acknowledge that they want to be part of it, and that will trigger their products being loaded into it. How we're going to promote it is all of the above. We're going to use agencies. We're going to use press releases. We're going to use direct contact. We have well over 1,000. We have many thousands of suppliers who we're in direct contact with, who provide us with data. We'll be talking to them. It's going to be to an agency's benefit that their suppliers are there. That one's kind of is obvious. That means that if somebody shops that brand and it's their territory, they're going to get the account. So we're going to be counting on the agencies absolutely to promote this, because this really is the marketplace built for them.
Yeah, and Callie, who's been doing this with the agencies on their own reach site stuff, is going to be instrumental in helping you guys with messaging and communication documents and where that stuff can be uploaded to help the agencies with not only information to your suppliers, but also to your retailers, because we want everybody to be getting the information about the benefits of bigmap.
Callie, I saw a question there that came in from Chris Singleton, which is asking if the fees are calculated based on order size.
There's a few that way, so I'm getting to those ones. Because we do have a few that are asking that question in terms of, is the 3% based on shipped or booked orders and so forth. So if you guys want to clarify that again.
Sure. So the fee is based on the order. The service that bigmap provides is the delivery of that order to the rep and then on to the supplier. Now, what happens with that? So there's a few pieces. Brandwise provides the tools through transit for you to keep as accurate as you can an inventory level. So in terms of back orders, there's a quantity on hand, there's ability for you to toggle basically products on and off by loading in new data to say this is not available. So that's going to be on the supplier. And I'm going to recommend that as a general best practice because sales reps and nobody wants to be ordering product that they can't get. So being more rigorous with that is going to be important. The other part is that bigmap is going to deliver an order size of X. What happens afterwards with that order, whether it grows or whether it shrinks, probably is a wash in the end when you look at what the total volume of business is going to be. So it is going to be based on the order size. There's also some practical considerations of that's really the only way it can be. But that's kind of where I'll go as far as Todd. Do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and we know that it's a question that's going to come up. But based on the fact that that the fee is low, and we mentioned this, right? We want the rep to be compensated. From the supplier perspective, it's a low fee, but it's providing you with a platform you don't pay for. You just have access to. It's providing you with the opportunity for 290,000 retailers to discover your brand. It's doing many, many, many things at a very low percentage. And the idea here is that, you know, we've got a support staff, we've got a technology and development staff, all of those types of things. And what we try to do is squeeze it down as low as we could and still make it sustainable. So the only way that we can really do it and be able to make it so that it's a profit center for us and not a deficit, because if we lose money on it, we take it down, right? So we need it to make money, but we don't need it to make, you know, 15 or 20%, because that's not going to happen with the site. But it's important that, you know, we know that when we're delivering these orders and they're getting to the supplier through stream, that's where our revenue is, so that we can count on that and we know what's coming in for it. Beyond that, we have no control of what happens to it after that fact. It can go up. You could add $2,000 to a $300 order once you get it through stream, and we don't take any participation in that. And that's going to happen occasionally as well by your in-house staff. So, you know, we looked at it very carefully, and it's really the only way that we can put together a sustainable marketplace is to get the fees paid on what the marketplace generates, not what happens after the fact.
Thank you. So just to clarify one more time, a fee could be charged for an order that doesn't ship. For example, if the credit card doesn't go through and never gets rectified, or no?
So the way that, yes, that's a possibility. So what happens with that is when we do credit cards, and when we take credit cards in the system, we capture the credit card token, we pass that to the supplier. There's many different ways the supplier can act on that. And really, honestly, depending on how long it takes that particular supplier to ship is where the risk comes in. So if a retailer goes in and puts their credit card information in right now, or they've got their token and that type of stuff, and it gets to the supplier and the supplier shipping immediately, there's a much better chance that card will go through. But that's, you know, that opportunity to get a different payment method from that retailer as it is today would still be the burden of either the sales rep or the supplier that worked with that retailer to say, hey, your card got declined.
And I think it's also, again, important to put everything in perspective. What percentage of your orders don't go through? What percentage of your orders does that happen with? If it's 2 out of 100, then that means that the service, instead of costing you 3%, on average costs you 3.2%, or 3.3%. We understand on an order by order basis, this makes sense. If someone puts in a fraudulent order for $5 trillion, you give us a call, we're not going to charge you $15 billion for that order, right? There is some sanity here. But for the most part, what we're looking at is we're not building an infrastructure that other companies have that ends up costing 15, 25%. There's a reason they charge that much. Part of that is this: they're doing the collections. They know they have. So like I said earlier, it's not going to be perfect with everything, but it is creating a marketplace that's driving retailers to work with salespeople to make better orders. So these small parts, we know that they matter, and we'll keep iterating and making them better. But I think that the big picture is going to be the part that matters. And if they do send in a $5 trillion order, we will eliminate that out of the system.
Unless you ship it, in which case
if you ship it, congratulations. So right. They just doubled the U.S. economy.
Thank you. So back to the question before, in terms of, we've kind of answered how we're going to be marketing this out to get participation from suppliers. In terms of getting participation from retailers, we have a few questions that have come in this way. Will agencies be expected to install a link to bigmap on their current website? How exactly are we going to drive retailers to bigmap?
Expected, no. There's an interesting piece here, which is that when the agency has the customer, when the agency promotes it, they're promoting it for the customers they don't have yet. And those are the ones that everybody else has. So if they do promote, if everyone promotes it, then everyone will benefit. Expected to do it, told to do it? Absolutely not. Encouraged? Sure. And that's, it's under the idea of, if we don't have what you're looking for, go here, right? You're our customer, you're using our site, you're looking at all of our lines. If we do not carry left-handed smoke shifters, here's a great place for you to go, because we know that with that virtuous loop, the customers are staying within our ecosystem and they're not going outside.
Yeah, now for the suppliers that have agency representation, and certainly if you have your own B2B website like we talked about, fine, but it makes sense for the suppliers to have that on there so that their orders are going to their rep agencies that are being worked that way. Brandwise will also obviously be promoting it on our websites and through our tools and stuff like that. But to Ari's point, we would never say you have to do this or this has to happen or you have to be on here. We're standing this site up based on what our industry and our ecosystem's been asking for and what we started years ago to provide a competitive edge and to provide transparency, to provide these tools. But by no means is it you have to do anything.
We're going to be counting a lot on the sales reps. In the sense that, a lot of them, for example, 2 or 3 sales reps who cover the same territory for competing agencies, they all know each other. They're all working with the same stores. And what what we're hoping will evolve is a esprit de corps, which says, okay, I know what I'm selling to them, but I want to make sure that I'm driving them somewhere so that they find Sally's line. And I hope that Sally is driving them to the same place so they find Bob's line, and Bob is driving them to the same place so they find my lines. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that it stays in the family, and then everybody can compete, right? That's not the problem. It's basically the idea of bringing them into the market center. If you're at the market center and you ask them to come into the market center to see you, you know that they're going to walk past 37 other agencies before they get to you, or 150 other suppliers before they get to you, but they're in the building, so you get to sell to them too. That's the point of BigMap. Bring them into the building, and then we all can compete, or you all can compete.
So just directly to that point that you just made, Ari, we have this question. What I see happening is that if BigMap is successful for serving existing customers and has all the functionality of reach, as a customer, I would prefer to quote unquote live in BigMap or the mall versus having to go to multiple agencies or supplier sites, standalone stores. This would result in agencies and vendors competing with marketing dollars against BigMap. Would you agree?
I wouldn't, because what it comes down to is, where should the vast majority of our sales be happening? The answer is between the sales rep and the retailer. That's always going to get you a better order, right? All of this, Reach wasn't built to take sales away from salespeople. BigMap isn't built to take sales away from salespeople. It's the opposite. It's meant to make sure that there's transparency and that salesperson can be working with that customer. In terms of ease of use, the customer will remember where they bought it, and that will work itself out in time. But the vast majority of the orders should still be happening. Remember, the suppliers out there that are getting all this business from Fair, they don't say we're getting a ton of dollars. Some of them are. They say we're getting a ton of accounts. I did a promotion, I got 34 new accounts over the weekend. Fantastic. But then what happened? Right? They ordered the wrong product and they didn't come back. So what's important here is that we're keeping in mind that all of this is meant as a support for the salespeople who should be working with the stores directly and using Play and all the other tools.
Yeah, and I think the other key point that's really important to make, and you touched on a little bit there, Ari, is that if we don't stand this up, if BigMap doesn't stand up, you're completely out of the loop with that. We're talking about, do they come to Reach, or does my rep work with them, or what does the supplier do? It doesn't matter at that point. They're going to say, if it's more convenient for me to shop across everybody, I'm going to shop on Fair or any number of other marketplaces. This at least gives you a very substantial fighting chance that you're going to get more and more business from BigMap. You're not going to get that business if you're an agency from Fair or any of the other association of these marketplaces.
Yeah, and what they've proven is that the pie is bigger than we thought. So the other piece that I would encourage everyone not to do is think of this as a defined, as a zero-sum game, as a defined pie. What Fair has proven is there's a lot more business out there. They've proven there's a lot more business out there. Every retailer that Fair has, Brandwise has. They have 100,000, we have 300,000. So if you look at it as a defined pie, which means if they shop there, they're not shopping with me, that's one thing. What I want it to be, I want it to be that the overall volume has increased so dramatically that nobody's worried about the 3% because everyone's net is so much bigger. That's the prize. If it's only about, we know there's only $100 and how are we going to divide it, then whoever asked the question, I understand your point. But I actually believe that there's a bigger opportunity because then we get to take advantage of the experience, the talent, and all the other pieces that we used, you know, to build a bigger ecosystem.
Thank you. I'm going to throw you guys an easier question, so hopefully this doesn't take as long to answer. How does a retailer see our reach site versus bigmap when they're in their passport?
So if they're in their passport, so what you're, as an agency, you want the retailers coming to agencya.com, and from there they click on the shop button and they're in your reach site. So they're shopping your site. If a retailer goes up and clicks on their passport, and this is how it is today, they'll see in their passport among a bunch of information. One of the things they'll see are the agencies they're connected to. And it's very easy for them, because we want it to be, to say, okay, I was here, I want to go shop on agency A's site. It'll take them to agency A and they're shopping at agency A's site.
Just like they're walking down the aisle at a trade show.
Correct.
They're walking past suppliers and walking past agencies.
Yeah. They'll also have bigmap in there, because bigmap is an agency in the model that we have. So they'll have bigmap and they'll have agency A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. But it's part of that. So the idea is that it's easy for them to manipulate around. But from an agency perspective, you're not marketing them to a passport, you're marketing them to your website.
Thank you. Is it going to be possible to do a highlight of an agency on bigmap? For example, check out this agency's lines today. And this is a two-part question, so that's part one.
Possibly in the future. We need to see how all of this kind of plays itself out. There's ideas like that are on a roadmap where, to Todd's point, we need to stand this up now so that we can give a viable alternative to suppliers, you know, now. But something like that is something that could be part of the roadmap. It's built on a Kentico platform, which means it has a lot of functionality, but it's something we could there for consideration.
Yeah, and I want to preface that there's a lot of dialogue, Callie, that would have to take place around that, because in an agnostic marketplace, you know, is that something we do or not? And we've talked about this, and we've talked about it at our last user conference, but there's a bigger conversation that needs to happen about how our industry, how our ecosystem wants that to happen.
Okay, yeah, because the two-part piece of it is that would this be something that agencies can control on behalf of all of the lines that they represent that are participating in the marketplace, or would this just be strictly up to the supplier to decide that they wanted to do something like that type of promotion?
Yeah, well, so there's two pieces to what you just said. I think maybe I misunderstood the first. As far as promotion to retailers to get to a certain spot within bigmap, that's just like reach. So if a supplier said, hey, I want to promote you to come to bigmap, or an agency did for this line, then that when they click on that promotion to come into bigmap, it will take them right to that brand. So that's something they do outside of bigmap, but they can use the marketing tools. What's a much bigger discussion and much more difficult to put our finger on is on the site, when I land on the site on bigmap, for somebody to say, I want my stuff to be at the top or my stuff to be front and center, and that's where it becomes something that's very difficult to do in an agnostic.
Yeah, and when you look at other examples like Fair, so Fair, when you sign on as a supplier, they give you a couple of moments in the sun. They're doing that for a very specific reason, because they're going to pick up new accounts and they're going to get 25% commission on all of them. That's a lot of money. That's a big consideration, and that's absolutely pay to play. That's what you're doing. That's how it works. That's difficult in terms of what's going to show up, where the search functions and the categories are going to help the retailers see, you know, this broad range of product in a lot of different ways. We're going to help them search because a customer, you know, when someone walks onto a site, they don't just, I mean, yeah, you can browse and walk around and they'll have that function as well. But a lot of it actually mirrors the experience of walking into a market center more than someone might think.
Yep.
Thank you. Another easy question for you, hopefully. If everything is complete in transit, is the supplier all ready to go to bigmap?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and content management.
Yeah. Well, so if the supplier's uploaded, there's three pieces you want from the supplier if they're working with an agency. Their product is uploaded through transit, their images are uploaded through content management, and their lifestyle images provided to us. And there's a web page that Callie can give you where you can upload that. very soon you suppliers will be able to have in your passport. You're going to see your lifestyle image, and then the next phase of that, when we get it in, you'll be able to actually upload it. That's what shows up on that home screen. So you'll have a lifestyle image and you'll have your brand story. Those are all coming, and you'll control those, you being the suppliers. So if you're seasonal or you want to change your lifestyle image in your story, you'll be able to do that at whatever frequency you want. But for now, to that question, if you upload your products and your images are there, when we flip the switch, you're good to go.
Thank you. I am a vendor. Will bigmap have an open API that we can integrate with for free, like other marketplaces?
An open API to do what?
That they can integrate with. This is from Kara. Let's see if you're still on. She is. Kara, you should be able to speak.
They might be referring to Todd for the product uploads. I'm just
potentially. Kara, are you able to hear us?
Making an assumption.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yep.
I was looking to integrate for the orders coming into NetSuite. We use NetSuite.
Yep. Yep. So we have a number of different tools that our Stream product provides for you that gets the orders into NetSuite from your agencies or from the website. And that's something that we can reach out after and talk to you about.
Yep. We have a number of different options, Karen, which will work, and that one product will work with whichever Brandwise agencies you're also working with, which I assume you might work with some, or any other marketplaces that are Brandwise powers. They all come through that one product, and there's different levels of integration that's possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Awesome, thank you. Another question, and Lisa, feel free to step in here as you need to. Will this be available for suppliers using options, price lists, price breaks, future availability dates to split orders, etc.?
Yes to all those things, but not right away. So as Todd has mentioned, the iterative ability that we're working on. So all those things, as we went through in our roadmap presentation, are all on there. So we will release with what we have now, and then the rest of those will come. And I can tell Todd wants to jump in and explain.
Yeah, and you're right. And keep in mind, we're not releasing this until January, but
exactly. So a lot of those will probably already be there by then.
And some of your list price breaks are already there.
Yep.
What else did you say? You read
availability on hand.
Availability
is already
there.
Yeah.
We don't split on splitting an order on a retail site by availability date versus sending it through with availability date. Something we could chat about, but it gets confusing for the retailer in that scenario.
But once that order gets to the salesperson through Play,
yeah.
They absolutely can do that. So that's something that this is, again, we keep coming back to it. This is the value of the salesperson. Play is an incredibly sophisticated tool. It has a million functionality that everything you just said, it has in it. Once the order gets to the salesperson, they're going to be able to use all of those tools, and they're going to split it into 15 different orders and anything else they need to do.
Right. However, to that point and to what Lisa was just saying, I mean, of the ones that we don't have, everything that was mentioned in that are on the roadmap to be done, because that's what we do in the core product.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So this is going to be another roadmap question for you. But since we're talking about the value of the sales rep, is there a way now as an agency to add reps as a business connection to our agency passport?
Right now, we don't have the ability for the rep to come into your passport. What we've said through all the different, because this question has been asked a bunch of times, we want to make sure that we're bringing people into passport where there's value, so they continue to come back. So the agencies obviously are there, they're approving retailers, they're connecting with suppliers are uploading their data through transit, all that type of stuff. So we're getting closer and closer as we continue to move through the process of saying, okay, here's the value to get a sales rep as a team member. Now, one of the things that we're working on that we talked about yesterday are roles and permissions within Passport, so that we can say that this role is admin, they can do all this, and this role is sales rep. We're building that in. Once that's done, then we could allow the sales reps to come in, and if nothing else, the sales rep will then have view-only accessibility into the reach site, so they can see all the products and different things like that. But we really want to make sure that there's some value before we say to the reps, go sign up for your passport, but there's nothing that you can do in there yet.
And then there's on the roadmap, there's a lot of functionality that we see some communication tools, possibly some messaging tools. If you are a rep working with a customer, that there's going to be messaging infrastructure here as opposed to email. These things are all part of the roadmap that are coming.
Yep.
Awesome. So when you guys are talking a little bit too about, you guys are talking about Passport and everything specifically, can you advise right now? I know that we kind of, okay, sorry, confusing two different questions. So first off, what exactly are we going to do in order to train the reps in terms of the value of bigmap and all those types of things before it launches?
So today's day one. We are at the starting point today in terms of our communication. So first, we're communicating with all of you, and that the message that's going to go out to sales reps through a number of different channels. Brandwise Insiders, our general email list, and also we're going to use the messaging on Play to tell them about it. We want sales reps to know that this marketplace has been built to protect them, and that it's not an that they're going to be that this isn't about them losing out. This is about us grabbing a bigger piece of the pie that they're going to have access to. We're going to work on that messaging. I have no doubts that I'm going to get a lot of emails about how my valued colleagues think that messaging should happen, and I would like you to send those to me. Yep. Because while I do think I speak sales rep, I count on many of you who I call periodically, we all do, to bounce things off of. So, but that messaging is going to be very clear. This is your marketplace, and they're going to understand that. We're going to communicate with them in every possible way we can.
Yeah, the other thing that we're doing, and we did this with Passport and Transit and all that kind of stuff, even for retailers that we hadn't communicated with, we put sections and pages and different literature up on brandwise.com, some of it public facing and some of it for you guys to send to them. We're standing up the bigmap, brandwise.com bigmap page also, which will have it'll be informational about what it is, what the values are, all that type of stuff that you'll also be able to share around. So hopefully I started actually a bit more work on that this week in my spare time when I wasn't doing webinars. But that'll be another resource that will help you guys as well. But to Ari's point, we're going to work with, I expect that we'll have a lot of conversations over the next couple of weeks now that we finally said this out loud that will help us communicate to them. And again, where we have the tile that came up for the Evolve conference on the iPad, we'll now come up with bigmap, and we'll have the ability for the reps to click on it, take them to the website, tell them what it's all about.
What's bigmap?
That tile's not going to change quite to that yet. We're still going to give you guys access to all these recordings, so your reps can come back and they can watch everything. So that's what the new tile is actually going to be on the Play for iPad screen. Can you advise a little bit and talk to this point, because we've kind of been talking a lot about Brandwise Passport, but if you haven't been on any of these webinars, you probably don't know where these things exist. So can you advise where you'll find Transit, Stream, Bigmap, etc.? Are these all behind the scenes in the agency website?
Do you want to answer that question, Kelly?
Yeah.
I can answer it. So right now, the way that it works for the supplier passport, suppliers now have a single sign-on. So you can now see your transit piece of it, which is where you're going to go to upload your product files. Stream, where you go to retrieve your orders, and content management, which is where you're going to upload all of your digital content, including images, is what we're going to need immediately for Reach 2.0. And coming in the future is going to be the ability for you to upload your catalogs and the hotspotting features like you do for Play for iPad and so forth. But that's that piece of it. Right now for agencies, they're managing connections between and I say agency because you may be a supplier that has a website that you manage as well. So if that's the case, you will have your retailer connections there and any of the businesses that you work with in the Brandwise ecosystem. I'm not sure exactly how the logins and everything are going to change. I know that you kind of showed some wireframes yesterday, Todd, of how the agency site is going to, or how the agency passport is going to adapt a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to give more features and functionality for how you control your site.
And those will just be another menu item across the top. So as far as where they're all at, you do just log in once. So you will have access to everything you need based on your, your type of persona, whether or not you're an agency, a retailer, or a supplier. And they're all listed usually across the top navigation. So that's how we kind of control it.
And then based on your permission or your role within that.
And then your
particular-
permission and roles, right? So, but it is all, you don't have to go to multiple places. It'll all be accessible in one place based on your security.
Yep. Thanks, Lisa. And then the other thing is if you want a passport, you can go to brandwise.com and there's a button on the top right that says Brandwise Passport. If you click on that and you don't have one, you click on the don't have Brandwise Passport and go through the wizards, get yourself set up.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of this, we're kind of running into a few questions regarding the catalogs and hotspotting. One of the concerns that people are having is that hotspotting in general is such a long process. Every new catalog has to be done, and most of us can't hire someone to just complete this process for us. So they're wondering if additional resources might open up in order to get everything that we need populated onto bigmap.
Yeah, first of all, catalog. Okay, go ahead.
Let me take that one. So by the time bigmap launches, it's very possible the digital catalogs will be part of that. It's on the roadmap to be done. So it'll either be when it launches or soon after it launches. That being said, what we're trying to emphasize through the passport and the ability for a supplier to access all of their tools through one login is really to get the supplier to control their data, which is how it works in almost every other ecosystem except Brandwise. They upload their products, they upload their images, they upload their catalogs. If they need to be hotspotted, they do all of that. We've always given the agencies the ability to do those things because it's been a challenge over the 20+ years to be able to get the content in a timely manner that you need. But as we go forward, we really need to make sure that the suppliers that control that data and control that content are the ones responsible for that. So that if there's 3,700 brands on bigmap, ultimately, we need the suppliers to be dealing with their brand. If they have one catalog or two catalogs, they hotspot their catalog. That being said, hotspotted catalogs are not mandatory. In Reach 1.0, if you're talking about that, whoever asked that question, if you don't hotspot the catalog, you don't see the gallery view of products. Those are not connected in Reach 2.0. So you have your gallery of products, all your images. You don't have to have a digital catalog. So a requirement that's in the 1.0 side or in Reach 1.0 doesn't exist in 2.0 or on it. Or on bigmap. So the digital catalog is awesome and it's fantastic, but it's not a requirement. And it does take time to hotspot because it's literally a look at a page and draw a box and do that kind of stuff. It's very difficult to automate a process like that where everything is in different places. You have to have somebody look at it. But we really want the suppliers to control that because they want to make sure that the brand that's showing up on your Reach site, on your Play system, and on bigmap should be the best of their product. Everything that they would want to show manually, they should want to show digitally.
Awesome, thank you. Paige, you have a series of questions still in here, and I just want to make sure that we get proper clarity for you on them. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you and give you the ability to unmute yourself. One of the first questions that you wanted a little bit more clarity on was the vendor requirement to define agency territories.
Hi, Paige.
Hi, Paige.
See if we get her.
Yes.
I can answer while we're waiting for Paige.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I saw the unmute now. So I'm sorry. So the question really is, kind of old school. We have various vendors, and I'm sure other people do, that we're selling the same thing, the same product, just it's really kind of based upon the retailer, right? So, oh no, that's a toy account. Oh no, that's a gift account, or an apparel. We have many apparel stores that sell gift and vice versa, and the vendors, in some places have, defined, okay, no, this is going to be, not yours or yes, yours or whatever. I guess I'm just going back to be devil's advocate. I'm always kind of leery. Yes, I do trust our vendors, but there's some that maybe, if they don't define the territory properly or correctly, we're missing out on something. We don't even see that order. Yes, it's the sales rep's job to go back in and see, hey, where did you get that stuff? Maybe, I don't know. But going back to the transparency, that's where I'm concerned about, and where I'm curious about. I guess concerned is really the wrong word. I imagine that 80% of your orders would be correctly sent to the proper sales rep. But in those scenarios where there's either hard-coded customers that maybe we sell to, or accounts outside of a region which are key accounts that maybe somebody has that we're allowed to sell, I know that if it's automated, which I'm sure assume is the way you want it handled, you don't want to have someone there or someone at bigmap sitting down and saying, oh, no, that rule says this customer is so and so. If you're automated, how do you make sure that that's correct?
Right.
First,
So
I'm sorry, that was part one. Part two is there a requirement for you to have your vendors, to have your suppliers define those territory rules, which is another
Can I
thing.
answer part two, Todd, and you
Please.
can answer part one?
yeah, I may
So
answer both and then answer the same way.
Part two, as a salesman, as a former sales manager, Paige, I would fully expect that when Big Map comes out, I get a phone call from every one of my principals that says, make sure you define my territory, because we have a contract that says that I have the Midwest. So you need to define, here's how you do it, make sure that it happens. So we're going to count on that coming in. And that, to that extent, I think it parallels just your agreement with that supplier. So that's how, I mean, in terms of a requirement, there's too many things change too quickly with suppliers, all over. So we're not going to be doing it that way, but the ability will be there.
Well, and we may, so kind of pulling back from that a little bit. So Paige, we know that when we look at sales producers, we know all of the lines that you carry, right?
Sure.
So what we're going to, again, when we're thinking about this, and this goes back to that conversation where we were saying, the reps have to be saying to retailers that maybe don't rep that line or that aren't going to buy from them, come to Big Map so that you can buy from somebody else, and that lead generation that goes around. From the supplier side, we need everybody in the ecosystem to think that this is going to be, that wants to participate in this is going to be the best thing for us. So we know that if you have 30 suppliers that you represent that are on Big Map, we should have 30 vendor regions within Big Map that relate to your agency. And I do believe that I think it's in our best interest and Big Map's best interest to provide transparency to that, to say, here's the vendor regions that you've been set up as by your specific suppliers. Then if you see something missing, you can contact that supplier. I think our duty is to provide it with you, and then it's your responsibility at that point to speak to the supplier and say, wait a minute, you set this up wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm going back to back way along many slides ago with the globe and the agency, all that, where you had that one arrow that went straight to supplier. Yep. I'm trying to, and you said if there's no territories defined, obviously that is going to go there. So I guess my question to you is if you see that sales producers, an example, sells vendor ABC, you're going to make sure that vendor is defining us in there, because we have no control over making that vendor, asking that vendor to do that work, right?
Yeah. What the goal would be is that we're going to provide them and say, you have 4 agencies that are in the Brandwise ecosystem. Please set them up with their vendor regions. And then I want to be able to provide you, the agencies, with information that says you've got 4 suppliers on Big Map, and here's what they created for your vendor regions. And then you guys, Paige, can look at that and go, wait a minute, this is only like a quarter of my territory for this supplier. And then you can contact the supplier and say, can you please expand this to be our entire territory? So we want to be able to provide you with it. We'll provide the suppliers with, these are the agencies that we know about, Brandwise. The suppliers can set up their non-Brandwise, and then be able to provide you, by the same token, here are the suppliers that you have that are on Big Map, and here's what the vendor regions are.
You can verify it, right?
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then
what we won't have the ability to do is to tell them that they have to. That's the part, Paige, where we can provide all the tools, right? But your contractual relationship with them is yours. So we can provide the tools and the transparency and the visibility and the reporting, but we can't tell them they have to do it. That's the only piece that we can't do.
I get that, because the vendor's going to do what they're going to do, whether it's on fair or whether it's on their own site.
But we can tell you.
But at least you'll know.
But you'll know. That's the part that we can provide you with.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Get it. So I'm just rolling back to see what other questions I had. Unfortunately.
Your other question was, the transparency of orders coming from Big Map are a game changer. Will Big Map be marketing direct to the retailer?
Yes, that question.
Yeah, in a variety of ways. A portion of the transaction fee is going to go to straight up advertising. You'll find Big Map in in Gift and Deck and Gift Shop and the other publications. A certain portion of it, we obviously have the ability to reach retailers, so we're going to be promoting it in that way. We have 290,000 retailers. We talk about that size, we talk about that number, so we're going to be promoting it in a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of creative ways we can do that. Then we're going to be counting on the sales reps as well, and they're going to be promoting it to help everyone else so that everyone else helps them. So that's kind of that minestrone is what we're counting on.
I get it. So it's kind of then going back to, well, not going back to, but just in this scenario. So we're marketing to our customers directly. The vendors marketing to our customers directly. Now you're going to be marketing to our customers directly, as well as all the other marketplaces that are marketing to the customer directly. So, okay, it's just, I just wanted to be clear. I just don't want us to compete. You know what I'm saying? So
sure.
That's the other thing.
Well, I think that
competition.
Well, absolutely, but I think that where it all kind of comes back to is in the two scenarios that Todd showed, right? There's the sale that goes to the global, someone looking for new product, they go to global marketplace A, it's a small order, they don't get a reorder, the rep isn't involved, it's a bad result. B is this, it's not going to be perfect, but what we're hoping, what I believe, and I believe as a sales manager, the most important connective tissue in this industry is between a sales rep and a retailer, right? I'm not going to try to sell you something once, right? All of those all that goodwill, all of that, important. This is built to say to the retailer, if you can't find what you're looking for, people you're already talking to, go shop here, because then that's going to get you somebody who can work a better order, and now we've helped you create a new relationship. That's the point of it.
And I think the unfortunate piece, kind of, Paige, to what you're talking about is if we're not marketing to them, everybody else that you just mentioned is marketing to them, and then it becomes less important to them. So it's kind of it is a bummer for the retailers of getting all of these different places to go. But I think as they start to see consistency of a site from their agency, their supplier, their sales rep, and Brandwise, and go, oh, it's this one site. I'm hoping that what we're hoping is that they go, okay, let me have a look at that, and then they realize that they've got order history from wherever they buy from and all these different brands, and then they can kind of unsubscribe from the noise and stay subscribed to this one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome. So we are getting to the tail end of questions. God forbid I ask this, but if you have any additional ones, be sure to raise your hand and then or throw them into the chat window. But we are down to our final two so far, so we'll be signing off after this. This one comes from Scott. Hope you can follow this. If a customer who is on bigmap ordering and orders from a company whose agency is not a Brandwise user, where will that order go? Rep who is associated with that agency, although they don't carry that vendor in that territory, or where?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We talked about that a bit earlier. So there's, as the supplier, you can still set the vendor region up for non-Brandwise agencies. Then there's the option where when an order gets placed for that non-Brandwise agency, it goes straight to stream to the supplier. It can also send an email to that non-Brandwise agency, so they have awareness. It will be a confirmed order in both cases, but at least the agency will have an automatic confirmation that order got placed. Secondarily, we have a tool available that we could provide a non-Brandwise agency with. There would be a fee associated with that that's just for that agency that would give them digital transparency into these orders. They'd still be confirmed, but they'd have a dashboard where they could see them, download them, import them into their system, whatever they want to do. And it would still be at the same time, it would go to stream and would go to the dashboard.
They're not going to have the same, functionality anywhere close to it, where the salesperson, where the order actually comes into whatever equivalent of play that salesperson is using. But I do want to point out that it is fairly remarkable that Brandwise has made this decision to do this, right? We want better orders for everybody. Our suppliers are our customers, our agencies are our customers, now our retailers are our customers, and certainly our salespeople are our customers. We want better results wherever it is, however it is that you're doing business. And so we will create that. That is built in now, that you can identify a non-Brandwise agency. They'd receive the order. It would be like a PDF or something. It's just going to be a static something that has it. It's not going to have any credit card information. It's not going to be that. It's just going to be a thing. But still, they'd find out about it. We want that because there's a lot of strategic reasons why we want it. We also want the suppliers to feel confident about putting their product up. That's what we feel. We also feel that because our ecosystem is so big, that it's going to be important to be keeping contact with all these people, because we think a lot of people are going to be attracted to join the Brandwise ecosystem when they understand how big the critical mass is. And of course, we want to, so that it's being friendly, and I think it's goodwill as well. And good business.
Thank you. So we did get more questions in, of course, but one of these I think is a really good one. And Brittany, you have been hanging on with us, so thank you. And to the 80 or so other people that are still here as well, thank you. Are there any plans to do virtual trade shows or events through bigmap?
Sure. So the way Brandwise 2.0 is built, and we're finding this while working with different associations, there are wonderful virtual tools out there to walk down an aisle, to see a person, to have an audio animatronic robot talk to you, to have virtual experiences going through, to set up appointments. That piece, what we're finding is we're providing the infrastructure to where they can do all of that. And instead of just saying, I want to add this to a things I like list, you can go shop now. And that's going to be the important piece in all of this, is that by being part of whichever marketplace you're in, whether you're a supplier who wants to link them directly to your presence on bigmap, or you have your own reach site, or it's an agency that is putting you forward and wants to do a shop now button, just like with when you see, would you like to log in with Facebook or log in with Google, this passport that a retailer has is going to enable them to go directly there. So while we're not going to be putting on events like that, we do provide the infrastructure for anything that is, and possibly in the future, we might add some functionality as well.
Yeah, and just adding one quick thing to that, that's cool, and you touched on it already, but to be specific, so in that virtual marketplace, you're giving them your pitch, and they're in your virtual showroom. When they click on the shop now, if you're an agency, or if it's your brand, it's going to take you right to your brand in bigmap. Right. So while they're in bigmap at that point, by having that shop button associated with you in there, when they click it, it's going to take them straight there. So whether it's reach or whether it's bigmap or whatever it is, it's going to give you that capability. Yeah. So our goal is to tie into those systems, allow us to be the engine that does the shopping behind the scenes.
Right. And another, if you had as a supplier you had a reach site, which was your B2B site, that you could then have it set up so that order gets delivered to your salesperson. So whatever initiatives is that you did there, that can then go to them, which is the best of all worlds. You're creating a marketing opportunity through whatever initiatives that you're taking, and then the salesperson's doing their job.
And to answer the question, I'm sure will come in, if you're an agency and you're in this and you have a reach site, that shop now will take them to your agency.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how you're set up with your virtual marketplace.
Awesome. So these final questions are pretty much going to be for the sole purpose of anyone that watches the recording and those of you that are still on here, because we've kind of seen them come through. And I know that this week there's been a little bit of confusion around these three topics. So first question, Todd, can you explain the value of a supplier uploading their product file in transit, regardless of if an agency chooses to participate in Reach 2.0 or bigmap?
So if you update, so even if your agency isn't participating in Reach 2.0 or bigmap, the benefit to you as a supplier to upload your product through transit is what it does when you get to the end. It makes it available for 2.0, and I'll give you another explanation in a second of why that's important anyway. But it sends your agency a perfectly formatted file for them to import through their agency importer on their 100 system to get to their reps. So right now what happens is
for play 100 system reps means it gets into their hands.
So what happens a lot of cases, you email a file to an agency and it's not formatted and it's not frequent and it's a pain for them, so they don't do anything with it. The idea of uploading it through transit, ideally on a very regular basis like daily, is they're getting quantity on hand, they're getting availability, they're getting products that are inactive, so they're selling stuff that's in stock, which is a huge piece of it, and it's easy for them to import. As we get further along in our 2.0 roadmap, into the first part of next year, we're going to change our play systems, iPad and PCs, to start to look at the 2.0 cloud to get updates of product, much like images are updated, where it's dynamic. So you'll upload through transit, regardless of whether you're on bigmap or Reach is being used. And when a rep goes to scan a product or type a product into play, if they're on the internet, it will go grab the latest information from the 2.0 cloud anyway. So there's a lot of benefits to doing that. The biggest benefit right now is making sure that your reps have the most accurate data in their hands on a daily basis as possible. So when they're selling stuff you have.
And there's another kind of reason that's next to it is the example that I gave earlier. I'm not sure if it was on this call, but I put together a supplier and an agency. And when I was having the conversation with the agency to both, I said, and by the way, all of their data is already in transit and content management that I'll set up. And the agency said, oh, okay, I'm ready to go. So that's, if you are looking for agencies, already having all of your data in and up to date is sometimes part of the biggest lift that an agency might have to do. And they say, we like your product, but what's it going to take to work with you? Oh, everything's already set up.
Great.
More
Awesome.
specifically to this though too, I think some of this concern is actually some kickback from the agency, surprisingly. The agency still wants to be able to manipulate and control the product file once it comes in. So can you speak a little to that?
Yeah, so the agencies right now still have the capability to manipulate the file. So you get a text file, the agency does in an email, and you can upload that into Excel if you know how to upload a text file in Excel, and you can knock yourself out and change it. And then tomorrow when the supplier sends a new file, you can either determine to ignore it or you can reformat it again. But over time, it doesn't make sense for multiple people to have control over a file and product that is the responsibility of a supplier. It's their product, it's their, whatever they're doing with it, they're the ones ultimately they're going to ship it, manufacture it, import it, whatever they're going to do with it. So right now that capability is still there, but we need to get the Brandwise ecosystem into much closer to a real-time environment than it is today. And in order to accomplish that, we need suppliers to push data up, and we need the systems to be able to extract it almost immediately.
And there's another point, which is that we hear a lot that, and agencies will say, suppliers don't get us images, suppliers don't get us images, suppliers don't get us images. And we understand that historically that's what has happened. I can tell you unequivocally that suppliers no longer have that option. They're loading product into Amazon. They're loading product potentially onto Fair, loading product into other marketplaces. They are dealing with their content. They might not be doing it for you because out of habit, this is just the way you do it, but there's no question that this is what the future is. It has been siloed in the past, agency by agency, but not anymore. And that all the suppliers have images if they printed a catalog, so they are more what we just know from the Museum Store Association, the onboarding of scores of new vendors is that they're ready to go because this is how they've been doing business in particular over the last 8 months.
So obviously you kind of pointed this out a little bit, but it leads us into our next question, Ari. Obviously there's a lot of value in digital catalogs. Can you speak to the value of hotspotted digital catalogs?
Well, hotspotted digital catalog, certainly when it comes to play, a dear friend got a play system for the first time, did a trade show, and it's a well-established brand, and their average order size doubled because even their internal people, instead of using the catalog in their own showroom, were using the digital catalog pointing and going. So the value of the digital catalog starts with your sales rep and the in-person work that they do. Secondary to that, I'd say online, because I think people like to flip through, but all of our buyers have been trained as consumers on Amazon. They're used to buying things in a gallery view. They're used to adding to cart. They're used to doing that and not necessarily looking at the catalog. So the value of it for me primarily is first for the sales rep, and then it'll also be incorporated because there are people that like to flip through the catalogs and they like to see it, and it's a story you're telling. The other piece about including the catalog is a wonderful way for you to tell the story about your company. And there's a lot of pride and a lot of work and a lot of thought that goes into it.
So two things there, Callie. One, uploading the digital catalog to be able to flip through doesn't require hotspotting.
No, that's right.
Hotspot, there's two ways that you can buy product from a catalog. One is you hotspot it, and then you can tap on any product and add it to the cart.
Yeah.
The other is that if your catalog is constructed really cleanly and your SKU numbers are readable by OCR, optical character recognition, when you upload the pages, we read every page. And if we can find SKUs on the page that are in your line, we automatically match the product up. We don't hotspot it because we can't on a sidebar. So the retailer can still flip through the catalog. And if we've done that OCR and it's read those SKUs, they can still add SKUs to their cart from your catalog. So hotspotting is really the be all end all of functionality, but you can still upload those catalogs and give them the ability to look at it. It's the best experience if they can buy right from the page and not have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So now you guys have talked about the importance of product files, catalogs. Can you also confirm one more time for us that these digital catalogs and these hotspotted catalogs are not going anywhere, regardless of reach, play, and so forth?
No, and just because they're not in Reach 2.0 right now, that was because, as Lisa explained yesterday, we're doing things in an iterative process. So when you develop software, the old days of Brandwise and things was you did it in what's called waterfall. So you just kept developing, and those of you that have been with us forever know that like once a year we introduce this huge bug-filled update to everything, and nobody would take it because it was a nightmare. Well, now we iterate, we release frequently, small bits. What's the most needed thing? What's the most viable product that we need to get out the door? And then we continue to iterate. So catalogs, a lot of people, to the point you just made, Callie, it's not their top priority. It's definitely a priority. But in play, it's still a steward, and it's in there and it's not changing. As a matter of fact, what you saw yesterday in Dylan's presentation with the iPad team is we're making it even more accessible through the app. We have zero intentions of getting rid of it. We have intentions over time of moving the hotspotter out of the tool that it's in is something that's more accessible across platform. It's got a long-term life with us. It's definitely not anything that will be cut out. It's still
I just got an important question from Randy Spore. He wants to know why I don't have a Brandwise shirt.
I'll get you
Janetta's already talked about making more, so our play team looked awesome yesterday.
Yep.
What else we got, Callie?
So I do have a few other questions that have popped in. I also have Michael raising his hand. So just in case you have a question, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you or give you the ability to unmute yourself. In the meantime, an important side note question for you, Ari. Can you explain what's happening behind you? Is that a kitchen, bedroom, showroom?
So I'm a cook, and my kitchen and pots and pans have exceeded the space in my very large kitchen, and they have migrated out. I've got baker's racks, and so what's going on behind me is the kitchen starting to take over the rest of the house. That's what's happening.
So for those of you in the housewares industry, email Ari Lowenstein,
Lowenstein at Brandwise.com
because he needs
yeah,
more.
yeah, and I have a massive collection of peach luster, which is a color of dishes and plates and bowls. I have about 1,000 pieces. So yes, that's my kitchen that's working its way out into the rest of the house. That's what's happening behind me.
Michael, I'm not sure if you found that unmute button yet. I'll give you a second to see if you did. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next question. Will there ever be automation where hotspotting can be done to recognize SKUs or UPCs and auto box them in a digital catalog?
So you could, when we read the page, that's an interesting question. So what we do now with Hotspotter, when we train on hotspots, we recommend that you're hotspotting primarily the image. I think it's an interesting question I haven't really given a lot of thought about, to whether when we hotspot, we're basically stripping the page, not necessarily the location on the page, to determine if we can cull it down to get a SKU that matches what's in the database. So it's an interesting question on whether or not we could say, on this particular spot where we read that, and I honestly know the answer to that, if we could draw a box around it. But if you think about, in many cases, the SKU is very small, and in some cases, the marketing department makes your UPC like a hairline height because they don't want it to take too much space. It would make it really difficult for the retailer to necessarily know where to click. Most people tap on an image, and in order to hotspot the image, you need to do it manually. It's one of those things that just really needs an eyeball on it. Otherwise, it's got a lot of room for error if we try to do anything digitally.
Yeah.
Landon, I'll go ahead and unmute you. He just said at least around the UPC code. And then one last question from Susan. It sounds like agencies do not have a place in bigmap. This will be for suppliers only. If this is true, will this 3% be taken out of reps commission? Sorry if this was already answered.
Yeah, we kind of covered this. I mean, in terms of a place on bigmap, Susan, I think that I would disagree with you in that I think the agencies are omnipresent in bigmap because it's why it exists. Bigmap exists to drive business to salespeople. So in terms of the place that's in it, the client's always right, but I'm going to disagree with you in that this was built for the agencies. This was built to get orders in the hands of salespeople. Salespeople, a lot of them work for agencies. So I think that there is a place for it. In terms of your own marketing efforts, we're not getting in the way of that. What we hope is that this just strengthens that. This strengthens it, because once that salesperson works with that customer and says, hey, come to my site, let me show you the other things I have, or actually, nice to meet you, let's set up an appointment so I can come visit your store. I mean, if you're talking about a place for the agency, we just did the biggest service that Brandwise ever could have done for you, more than we've ever done before in terms of generating new business for you. In terms of the question about the 3%, that's going to be something we did cover earlier, which is basically that's between you and the supplier.
But I also think it's really important to understand that to Ari's point, the complexity of what we're doing is all about the agency. We could easily throw a site up that just sends the orders to the suppliers. That's the easy part. That's what everybody else does. Yeah. Keeping the reps included and having the transparency of the orders flowing to you guys, to your sales reps, to your territory reps, that's all about the agency. While they're going to a brand on bigmap to buy from that brand, they're going to know that you're the agency that represents them, because it'll be in their product detail, and that order will come to you. So it's a huge piece that benefits the agency, and this is all about the agencies. It benefits all of our ecosystem.
Yeah.
But from that perspective, it's built for the agencies. Yes, Kelly.
Thank you. Nope, I think we're nearing the end of it. Landon, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking my question. I know this kind of deviates from the whole thing we're talking about here, just about the UPCs and all that with the hotspotting. Yeah. I don't know about other people, but we'll employ some high school friend or something like that to just plow away at our ungodly amount of SKUs that we have. And right. So having an option of being able to automate this, even if, because I think the image thing absolutely is the best way to go. I mean, just visually, that's how people think. But even if it was a default option where it automatically recognized a scannable barcode on the screen and could recognize the digits within that and then do a box around that barcode, just so that everything that has a barcode had the ability for a rep to go in and just touch that barcode and know, and be able to add it to an order. And then, of course, if we wanted to go beyond that and do a square around the image that only we could do, then we could do that as well. It's just some food for thought, as opposed to going.
Yeah, it's interesting. So a couple things on that. One, when we get to the point where we redesign the hotspotter out of the current tool, we'll probably have a lot more flexibility to thinking about how that works. But even now, if we can read the SKU, and I don't know if we look at the UPC Dylan as well on that, but we do that OCR matching. So when we read the page and we find that, even though they can't tap on the product itself, when you tap the page, all those products appear on the right side, and they're orderable from there, both for the retailer and the rep. So that might get you a little of the way to what you're talking about. While they don't have to tap on the UPC, it's apparent when you get to that page, it just displays the products, and then they can order the products that we've associated with that page. So that happens today.
Real quick, just to touch kind of on what Todd was saying. I mean, UPC, SKU, I think the two are often kind of intertwined for the most part. Like right now it recognizes the SKU. So if it just put a box around the SKU, not necessarily the UPC, I mean, that really accomplishes the same thing, right? Would that make sense? Okay.
It's a matter of just putting it around a number that they know to tap on. I think what Landon's thinking is they may be more apt to tap on a UPC. But I think it's really good food for thought and stuff we talked about certainly in the past. But as we get into whatever the new hotspotter will look like, which is not going to be that's going to be somewhere down the roadmap a little bit further, because what we have already works. But that OCR piece might get you a little bit of the way there, Landon, as far as what you're trying to accomplish.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yep. Thanks for your feedback.
Awesome. Well, Six took it seriously in terms of staying on with us for 4 hours today. That wasn't truly our intention, but we definitely appreciate all of your engagement and feedback. Derek from our iOS team actually had something to add here in terms of the auto hotspot. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Derek, so that you can say your comment live for us really quick.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't prepared for that. So yeah, so I was just, I thought we might want to discuss at some point the ability to, if somebody knows that they're not going to take the time and hotspot all the individual products on each page, we could do an auto hotspot feature where we just use the multi-item hotspot and hotspot the entire page. And maybe it's been discussed.
No, it's
an interesting concept. Might be better than nothing.
Yeah, so what Derek's talking about is when you do hotspot and you hotspot an image, let's say you have 20 images on the page, you can actually draw a hotspot on the entire page, and then you can add 20 products to the page. And when you tap on the page, it gives you basically a spreadsheet type form that has, here's the 20 products, and you can just go down and add your SKU or add your quantities, and it'll add all of those. So something like that, where we said, okay, we read these 20 products and we know the size of the page, we may be able to actually do that as something in the interim. So that's an interesting concept, Derek. Good thought.
I think we are good. We are at 2 hours and 5 minutes. So this is a record. I think we went over.
We definitely went over, but this was the grand finale. That was expected.
Well, the grand finale and a big announcement. So
a big announcement. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for the surprisingly high number of you that are still on. Thanks so much, and we're going to get this out there. More messaging.
Plenty more information to come.
Coming, and let's get back out on the road and keep selling. Enough listening to us.
or get back on your computer virtually. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye.